So here is the new Egyptian cubit ruler, which I just finished making today. And on the top row, we have the Amenemop cubit ruler God units, which was made in minus 1245 or 3200 A. And this one is 22 inches long. The standard Egyptian cubit ruler is 21 or 20.6 inches. So I made this one exactly 2 centimeters per cubit, so there would be more room for images. And the second row is the Egyptian lunar script, showing how each letter, alphabet letter, came from the original Egyptian cubit ruler units. So these units vary depending on which ruler or person made the cubit. But to explain where this comes from, over here we have the oldest attested mathematics in the world. It's called the Oshenga bone, and it comes from Oshenga, Africa, and the Congo, shown here. And on the bone we see marks for counting. Some have suggested this has to do with prime numbers, but that doesn't sound very credible. But with regard to the alphabet, over here we see 4 marks. This became the Egyptian 4 digits, and this became 4 plus 4 equals 8, which became the Egyptian number 8, and it's in the name of Heliopolis. And this became the Phoenician H, Greek H, Etruscan H, and Aramaic H. So in our cubit ruler, we have 4 digits equals 4, 4 more digits equals 8. And this is where letter H comes from. So if we go over here, we see the Phoenician H, then we see the Aramaic H, Hebrew H, Etruscan H, and then English H. Now this cubit ruler is divided into 7 palms. So 4 fingers is a palm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 times 4 equals 28, and there's 28 units on the cubit ruler corresponding to the number of days of the lunar month, and with respect to humans, number of days in the female menstrual cycle. So every 28 days, a woman ovulates a new egg. Important points to note here is that in the Amenemop cubit ruler, Shu is the air god of Heliopolis creation mythology, and he creates Jeb, the goose, and Nut, or Bet, the star goddess. And he also creates Tefnut, which is moisture. Or Atum is the first unit. It creates Shu and Tefnut, which is moisture, but they get subsumed into letter A per reason that Shu in Greek became Atlas, and Atlas is isonymic or has the same number value, which we'll talk about, as alpha. They're both equal 532. So Shu became A. Bet, which is this symbol here, became a woman, as the shape of a woman arched over a man. or over Jeb, who's the earth god, and there's Jeb with the erection. And so this got moved from 4th position, the many cubit ruler, to the 2nd position, which is B. And then we can see the woman with her 2 breasts here. That's the Hebrew B, that's the Aramaic B, and that's the English B. So that got moved to letter B. Jeb, who is the goose, who is number 4 on the Amenemop cubit ruler, got moved to 3. And there's the Phoenician G. You can see Jeb is the animal, the earth god, but as a character became a man with an erection. That's the same thing, that's the Aramaic G. Hebrew G, you can sort of see the erection. And this is the Etruscan G. So the Etruscans started putting a curved shape to it, and that's where we got our letter C. And then by the time the Latin alphabet arose, G was moved between C and G to the 7th letter. And the next important point to note here is that D is the vaginal region of Bet, or Nut, the star goddess, where the 25 letters are birthed out. Originally, it's 5 epagomenal gods, shown here. It's Horus the Elder, Osiris, Nephthys, Set, or this is Nephthys, Osiris, Isis, and then Horus the Elder. So she births 5 gods, 5 children, and then D becomes, this is the Phoenician D, there's the Aramaic D. Hebrew D doesn't really look like a vaginal region anymore. But we have Greek D. And E is the Osiris triple phallus. F is the double phallus. And you can see how the E originally in Phoenician were angled at 72 degrees, like this. That's because the normal male erection is 72 degrees. But then by the time the Greeks got to the alphabet, they made it at a 90-degree angle. So that's where G comes from. Now H is the 4 Ogdod gods, which we can see over here. There are 4 frog-headed male gods and 4 snake-headed female goddesses. So this is where letter H comes from. And Thoth is the main math. Thoth, the ibis-headed Thoth, is where when you find mathematical words, you're always going to find letter H involved in the situation. So for example, here is the original sand abacus, where we see 4 pebbles multiplied together to create the number 64. Now again, 4 plus 4, you get 8, and then 8 squared equals abacus. A, B, A, 1 plus 2 plus 1 equals 4, plus the Osiris Djed pillar equals 80. So if we go over here to the 15th letter, I go up in Greek, this is Xi, but in Egyptian it's the Osiris Djed pillar. And then we see the Thoth ibis at the 15th position. So that's how we get the etymology of the word abacus. +60 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 gives us 64, 8 squared, or 4 cubed, which is where we find the cipher for thrice great Hermes. The next important point is that letter N is the 14th letter. So this is when the Nile flood starts. And it always happens at the heliacal rising of Sirius. So a lot of people are confused between M and N. So M is the sickle, where you cut the crops, and this is the growing season over here. And then the 150-day flood starts and goes over here, and then ends over here around the month of Christmas, which is in this part of the ruler. So letter N always holds. There's N 50, 14th letter. And then if we go to the many-mope cubit, we see the fresh water jug here. This is the symbol of Happy, the Nile flood god. And then this is the Phoenician N, Phoenician M. Again, this is sickle, or for cutting crops. That's the river, Nile end bend of the river between the third and the sixth cataract. And then when we get to Aramaic, it still has the N shaped. We have the sickle. But then when we get to Hebrew, it's pretty much lost at N, but we can still see the sickle blade here. And this is the Etruscan N, Etruscan M. And then Greek and Greek. Now, an important point to note here is that when we do etymologies, the word math is M. Sickle blade. This equals 40. And then we go over here to the hoe is A. These are two sticks, and there's a string that ties them together. And then it's for digging up dirt. That equals 1. And then the 9th letter is, this is the Heliopolis Enad. If you look close here, there's 9 rays of light, which gives us the 9th letter, which is theta. And this gives us our T, H, and this is 9. So this equals 40 plus 9 plus 1 equals 50. So this is a cipher for this 50 for the water, which is the source of everything. So this also equals N. And this is what Thales meant when he said, all is water. Thales said, all is water, and all goes back to being water. So the flood starts here, and then we have the ocean, which is salt water, and then it goes back here. The cubit ruler goes over here. The sun is reborn at the 28th letter, or there's the sun bulb coming out of the rising lotus that comes out of the water at the 28th letter, and this is Sampi is the 27th letter. So this is when the jet is raised. This happens on January 8th, which is equivalent to us raising the Christmas tree. The sun is reborn, and the cycle goes back to A, which is the hoe and also a sun letter. And also the 1, 10 is Horus. He's the oldest Egyptian god. That's the spear of Horus, or the lightning bolt. And then he's valued 10. In Phoenician, you can see his 2 claws here and his tail. This becomes this symbol in Aramaic, and then in Hebrew you can barely even tell. That's why Yahweh starts with J, or This one starts with 10. Now, to conclude our short introduction, each one of these is a digit. Now, when you look up digit in Greek, it's physio, or Cephio. So we go over here, and then when you do words, again, remember mathematical words are always going to have this H or 8 in it, because Hermes is the calculator, Egyptian calculator. So C is 700. This corresponds to the rising of the Orion constellation. So it has to do with calculation of the after existence in the stars. So we get C. And the next letter is eta. So again, we're at H. The next letter is phi. So we go down to our ruler at 500. We see phi, and this corresponds to the top fire drill. That's where the egg of the sun is lit, and that equals 500. And we go to the Horus is the next letter. In Greek, these were originally written as thunderbolts. 10. And then we have the ocean letter. And in English, this would be C, phi, O. And this equals digit, or one finger. Cephio. So we add these together, we get 500 plus 700 is 1200, 1270, 1280, 1288. Now the next word we're going to look up, since each unit on a cubit ruler is digit, is we're going to look up cubit. So we translate so here's Cephio. This equals either digit or numeral. Now when we translate cubit in the Greek, we get picus. And it's the distance from your forearm to the elbow. So for me, I put my elbow goes down 24 cubits. This is what's called the standard cubit. And it stops at 24. Now, if I add 4 more digits to this, then I get what's called the Pharaoh's. This is the Pharaoh's arm, and we get 28. This is called the royal cubit, whereas this is called the standard cubit, 24. Also, 4 plus 4 equals 8, and then 8 plus 8 equals 16. This is where the Greek foot came from, 16 cubits. So in the Greek, when you measure Greek temples, like Apollo temple, it's measured in Greek feet, or 16 cubits. But when we go to hear what this is pronounced like.
Patches.
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 So patches means cubit. So now we're going to add this up. First letter is pi. So we go down our unit, cubit ruler, until we find pi. Pi is, original Greek pi's look like this. They went up and they were angled at 23.1 degrees. So this part here is the Polaris pole, the star that, if you look up at the night sky, there's a star around which all the other stars rotate. And this pole that's angled over here, if you look at Jeffrey's epigraphic letter forms, so if we go over here, we type in epigraphic, and we go to Jeffrey's, we go to this link. So there's, you can see the original H's here. That's where the 8 water gods came from. But then when we go to pi, originally, now we know look, pi looks like this. This is a semi-old one, but the original ones were angled like this. And this because pi is 2 poles out of alignment. And then Sampi is the 27th letter. These are the 2 poles in alignment. Sampi is 2 poles in alignment, and they're about to be raised to the vertical. But back to our calculation, we have pi is 80. And then we also look at the form change. So in Egyptian, this is the pi is the eye balance symbol. It's below the eye of Horus. So this is the ecliptic pole. This is the Polaris pole, and they're out of alignment by 23 degrees. And the ecliptic pole has to do with the plane of the Earth in rotation with respect to the sun. So the sun has the plane, but the Earth is tilted at 23 degrees. So the Egyptians believed that every year the 2 poles could be aligned, and that Thoth could do the calculations, and that would restabilize the universe. And when the Christmas tree is raised, this is Osiris Apis, and this is where the Christmas tree comes from. So if we look at the evolution of pi, we can see in Phoenician it's sort of still curved a little bit. And we have Aramaic, Hebrew is the P, and then Greek became this. And this is the Etruscan, and then Greek became our normal pi. And then the second letter is H. Now again, second letter, and we're doing cubit this time. They both have H, so we know that's a mathematical word. The next letter is chi. So we go over here to our cubit ruler. We go down to chi. Chi is 600, and this corresponds to the birth of the cosmos. And it is an X. And the reason why this is cosmos is because if we cosmoses. K is 20. This is the Polaris pole. O is 70. S is the snake that the sun has to do battle with each night. That's 200. M is 40. The sickle. Another 70, and then we have another snake. So we get 4 plus 140, we get 540, plus another 20, 40. This gives us 580, plus 20. Now we're at 600. So cosmos, according to Egyptian alphanumerics, equals 600, and then X equals 600. So this is where Ptah lights the fire. Ptah makes the golden egg of the new sun. He lights it, and it's born out of the X. And the original churches to this day make the X's on the ground, and they write Latin letters one row, and then Greek letters on another row. It signifies the birth of a new church or town. So getting back to our calculation, the next letter is Y. So we go over here to Y is 400. And these are what are called shoe support pillars. And there's 4 of them, and they hold up a bet when she gives birth. That's why D is 4. And then last letter again is the snake letter. So we go over here. Again, every night when the sun goes down at night, it does battle with snakes each night. And the 7th gate is the largest snake, and it's called a pep. So we have R and S. This is why Abraham's married to Sarah, Brahma is married to Saraswati, and Ra does battle with snakes. It all goes back to Egyptian alphanumerics. So now we have 200. So we add these together, we have 1,000, 1,200, 1,280, 1,288. So now we see that these are isonymic. Iso means equal, and this is name. So digit, the word digit, Sophio,
Πύχης. Πύχης.
Pikis. So we see that digit is isonymic with cubit, and that's where the word is derived. So most of the English words we can do by derivation, by adding up the numbers, and each number has a theme to it. So this is called the dynamis. Bottom row is called the stoichia. And this is called the force of the power of the letter, the second row. and we can calculate etymologies like this. So when you compare, we look up cubit, picus, we get all these Proto-Indo-European, this is all garbage, this is made up etymologies. So you don't want to look at these anymore because they're completely baseless. They're based on a civilization that doesn't exist. And so correctly, the Proto is Abydos, Egypt. And we will look up Proto-Indo-European etymologies. And then the same for Sophio. If you go over here, go to Cephos. The Wiktionary tries to connect it to this, and then it tries to connect it backwards to Proto-Indo-European bes, meaning to chew. So this is a garbage etymology. Cubit really doesn't have anything, or it has to do with food, but the connection with cubit goes back to digit through the isonym of 1288.